saddle, and one of his high-profile friends, a one-time mayor of Scarborough, Peter Giacomelli, found that there would have been enough evidence to prosecute the pair if they were still alive. The force said 35 people had come forward with allegations about the two men.
On behalf of North Yorkshire Police, I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry. We did not respond more effectively. We did not investigate those allegations early on. And I do hope, and it is a hope, that those victims will get some reassurance from this year's investigation and our conclusion that both men would have been arrested had they been alive today.
Well, joining us now are the Labour MP John Mann, who's campaigned heavily on the issue of historical child abuse. He joins us down the line, and Mark Watts is here. He's editor-in-chief of XRO News, which has also been pushing for an investigation. Welcome to you both. I wonder if I could ask you first of all, this is going on from abuse now to murder. We don't know what's going to be found out, but to the best of your knowledge, do you believe people in high places at Westminster knew about the killing of 3 abused boys?
Well, the allegations include one of an MP carrying out a murder, and that is one of the 3 allegations that the police are currently investigating. And what the police made clear today is, as crazy as this sounds, the notion, completely ludicrous on the face of it, they believe the witness to be credible, and basically they believe him. And that is as a combination of the credibility of the witness himself, combined with other work that's been done, which we can't really talk about at this stage. But the police are signalling today that they are taking this extraordinary claim incredibly seriously.
John Mann, do you believe that this is credible? I mean, this is the most serious allegation possible, really.
The allegations are very credible. More people are coming forward every day. I've just spoken to someone new myself today with allegations local to my area, and these are credible allegations that this abuse was going on. It's time that the victims and their voice was heard and there was some justice, but that's going to require some bravery, not least from former police officers who looked at these things, however, were a cursory way in the past, to come forward with what they know of the past. That would be the most significant way forward in actually getting some justice of these people.
Are you suggesting there was a cover-up as well, John Mann?
Oh, well, that's one aspect, but it's more complex than this. It's the whole way in which these young people were treated as social delinquents at the time, and they were not seen as credible whenever they complained to the authorities, be it to children's homes, managers, social services, be it to the police or anybody else. That was the fundamental thing that went wrong. There clearly was some significant cover-up as well. The combination means there's a lot of people out there who know a lot more. If those people come forward, including more of the victims, I think we will see some justice.
Thank you, John Mann. Apologies there for those interruptions from those boys in the background. As far as the names are concerned, I mean, we're not naming names at this stage. Do we have names either for the 3 suspected victims or indeed for who it was thought was involved with this?
Well, in relation to the 3 murders, Nick has, we are aware of the alleged perpetrator of one of those killings, who was a Conservative MP.
But do we know who the victims are?
And in terms of the victims, that's something we're all trying to work out. As things stand, we do not know for sure who any of the 3 victims are. I think that we are making some progress on working out the identity of one. We have a partial identity on a second, and I understand the police have made some progress on that one in particular. And the third one, I'm afraid, is a complete mystery.
And when you said to me that there's this one that could have been killed by an MP, that's the one you're certain of. Are you certain that there were 2 other murders as well?
Yes, I mean, this is Nick's account of 3 quite separate incidents. Now, of course, there isn't an corroborative witness for any of these 3 incidents, but part of the objective, I think, of the police today, in the briefing that they've given to journalists, is to encourage witnesses to come forward. And here's a crucial one, to pick up what John Mann said earlier. Now on X-Ray, just last week, we ran a story about private postings by police officers who were involved or at least heard about closed operations that were closed when they started to reach people in positions of power, including police, judiciary, MPs, Westminster they would refer to, and these operations were closed down. It is absolutely crucial that not only abuse survivors come forward to tell what they know, not only people who worked at Dolphin Square to tell what they know, but police officers who were involved in these closed operations must come forward and must be allowed to come forward to tell what they know.
What's the period we're talking about this has taken place?
Specifically in relation to the alleged murders, we're talking from the top of my head of very late 70s and early 80s, and I'm afraid the abuse, it spans from many decades ago right up until, in some cases, it's still going on.
And this is an investigation. Have there been any convictions relating to this circle of this abuse that we can say, well, at least something was going on?
Well, actually, the answer is yes. It's quite a complicated network, and we often prefer to use the word network at X-Ray rather than ring to try and capture the complexity of it. And we have had the conviction of Charles Napier, who was involved in this broad network. He's been convicted of some very serious child sex offences just recently. He was a figure in this network. He's not in himself a famous name. He happens to be the half-brother of a Conservative MP, John Whittingdale. And as John Whittingdale says, I can't help that. But there it is, it happens to be a fact. And Charles Napier will come up for sentencing for the offences for which he's been found guilty later this next month, just before Christmas, perhaps.
And any of the suspects, are they still extant or are they all dead?
No, they're certainly not all dead. And as the police have indicated, this is a live investigation into people who are still alive. Clearly some perpetrators are dead. We've heard a lot about Cyril Smith, we've written a lot about Cyril Smith, and indeed Peter Morrison, former PPS to Margaret Thatcher. But not all the perpetrators, or alleged perpetrators, are dead. And
finally, is this still difficult to investigate? Are you still running up against opposition, or has the climate changed post-Savile?
The climate has changed, but for sure there are difficulties. There are false stories being spread, there are smears being spread, there are smears being spread about police officers who might blow the whistle, certainly about abuse survivors, even about us at X-Ray. But the reality is that a lot has changed. There is an inquiry that's going to go into the whole of this. We believe at X-Ray that Theresa May, the Home Secretary who ordered this, is serious about this inquiry. I think that fact alone, the fact that inquiry exists, has caused the police to treat it more seriously than, quite frankly, they were just earlier this year.
Mark Watts, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Elsewhere, Hollywood stars searching over 40 years if they'd both still been alive today.
North Yorkshire Police has apologised to 35 possible victims of Savile and Peter Giaconelli because officers missed opportunities to investigate them. Chris Kiddie has our main story this evening.
There's no place like Scarborough. That is actually true. I love Scarborough.
Peter Giaconelli, who died in 1999, was one of Scarborough's most famous faces. He was a prominent local businessman and an ice cream salesman. It emerged today that he was also a prolific sex offender. So too it's emerged since his death 3 years ago was his longtime friend Jimmy Savile. So far, 35 people have come forward to say they were victims of Savile and Giaconelli. Crimes ranged from indecent assault to rape. Giaconelli's offending spans 40 years, from 1958 to 1998, the year before he died. Savile's crimes date from 1979 to 1988. Had they been alive today, the pair would have been prosecuted. Police said today they were told of complaints against both before they passed away, but did nothing.
But whilst they were still alive, in respect of Peter Giaconelli, there are 3 people who came forward as victims of crime to say that sometime in the past they tried in very different circumstances to make a complaint to the police. In the case of Jimmy Savile, there were 2 people who said that in the past they tried to make complaints to the police. And that's why I'm saying to all the victims of Savile and Giaconelli that I'm so sorry that in the past North Yorkshire Police did not respond, did not investigate in the way that we should.
A former Scarborough councillor who says he was propositioned by Giaconelli as a boy in the 60s welcomed today's admission. He says Giaconelli's behaviour was well known 30 years ago.
There's one man that emailed me, and when he was a youngster, and he told his father what happened, and they got the police involved. And at the end of the day, after the statement was taken, the police said, well, sorry, there's nothing we can do about it.
And the Scarborough charity, which works with victims of sexual abuse, says the police apology is long overdue.
As an apology, it's welcome, and it's a long time coming. I hope that going forward, people will feel that they can go to the police if they've got allegations to make about abuse.
Saville, who had a flat in Scarborough, has had his civic links with the town severed since his offending came to light. His headstone's been removed from his grave in the resort. Likewise, Peter Giaconelli's civic honours have been taken from him since his accusers came forward. The Independent Police Complaints Commission is still investigating North Yorkshire's handling of Saville and Giaconelli. The force say no evidence has emerged of a cover-up or corruption. Chris Kinney, ITV News.
Next this evening to the vigils in our region in memory of the pupils and teachers killed
into weeks and then months and years and decades
and nothing.
And, yeah, 3 decades and a half, and still no further ahead than from day one, really.
Martin's disappearance, Nick's abuse are now history. More than 30 years in the past. For the police, real evidence will be elusive. And since the Jimmy Savile scandal, it has been the mantra of child abuse policing that victims must be believed initially, unless evidence, of course, proves them to be wrong. But in this case, the detectives have made clear that they really do believe Nick's account. They think what he's saying is true, and these are detectives with long experience of assessing stories about murder and about child abuse. But the difficulty is that the account comes from one person, and it has to be corroborated. Sophie.
Tom, thank you. Russia's President Vladimir